Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And in this one, we are going to be covering the Affliction Warlock. I've recently been able to climb my way into the top 10, and I have to say that this is actually one of the best times to play Affliction Warlock, and it's not often that that is the case. It's been many expansions where Affliction Warlock just feels like a fleeting effort in terms of trying to be viable, but in Solo Shuffle right now, it is definitely the most competitive it has ever been, and this is thanks to the new honor talent Jinx, which is going to enable our Curse of Weakness, our Curse of Tongues, and our Curse of Exhaustion to also apply Agony and Corruption to the target. 3 effects for 1 global. And one of the main benefits of the Affliction Warlock is going to be our mobility. So you want to be abusing this. You can see at the start of the game, I'm stunned up at the pillar using Dark Pact while stunned, and then immediately amp Curse of Weakness to prevent the enemies from attacking, gripped into the center field. And this is where you want to be positioning out of line of sight of your portal so that you can escape when your healer is crowd controlled. Now, one thing you don't want to do as a new Warlock is use your mobility when your healer is in your line of sight and not CC'd. Here we get dueled, so I'm going to Kultiran Racial punch the rogue in a 1v1. I've been really liking Kultiran just for that fact, and now my healer is CC'd, so we're going to portal back to the pillar, pull away from the engagement, wait for the CC to end, and then move back into their line of sight as soon as it has. And this standardized way of kiting has gotten me into the top 10 and really enabled me a lot of success. Here we're trying to bait kicks. We managed to bait the kick, and we get a double Shadow Fury, forcing the revival from the monk here. All the kicks are down from the rogue, so we're just casting. I actually used our wall here a bit offensively due to the fact that revival was already used. I wanted to go for a soul rot, get a big row of dots onto all 3 targets, and really start hammering out as much pressure as possible. We're doing our best to redot here. Honestly, I could use Curse of Exhaustion here instead of reapplying our dots singularly. Our healer is crowd controlled, so we're going to portal behind the pillar, and we're just going to run. We're just going to around the corner. That standard strategy from all the way back in TBC is still a viable option here. We're channeling Drain Soul. This can be a good way to get through interrupts when there's multiple melee, is to just start your drain and then cancel it, start your drain and then cancel it. You'll get 1 tick of it, refreshing your dots, and then also applying a stack of more damage. So we fake the kick, we get a soul rot, we're getting our dots out, we fake another kick, and this kind of like pump faking with Drain Soul or even Drain Life, although you don't really want to use Drain Life because you're getting a stacking buff. We're going to portal away here from the Shadow Blades and the cooldowns. We get a fear onto the monk, but my main goal is to just kind of like keep distance, keep the game going as long as possible, because we don't really have a strong win condition as Affliction. Our advantage is just being able to do a lot of damage, mobility, and survive. So here we get dueled, so we're going to Shadow Fury. We're 1v1ing the rogue, trying to take him out, get a full row of dots, soul swapped from the rogue over here onto the paladin, which forces bubble. Now we're going to go for a soul rot to bait kick, so we can channel Drain Soul as we've got the rogue critically low. We get put into a Hammer of Justice, very scary situation. Priest uses Ray of Hope here and life swap, and again, my healer's not CC'd, so I don't want a portal. I just want to tank damage here, let the healer do what they need to do, and stabilize me. There's no offensive cooldowns activated from our opponents that are going to be particularly scary, and we were just stunned, so there's no reason for me to run. This is probably the number 1 mistake that Affliction Warlocks make that I see on average, is that they run when they don't need to. Now our healer's in angel form, so they're immune to crowd control and they can free cast healing, so there's no reason for me to really run. But now I'm in a smoke bomb, my healer's out of line of sight, he's in a kidney shot, so we're going to portal, we're going to run away, and we're just going to go left, right, left, right, left, right, avoid the rogue, make him really angry, and this can annoy a lot of melee DPS if you get good at doing this, where you're portaling back behind the pillar and then just line of sighting them and not letting them get back to you. Even though you're inhibiting your damage, it just gets better for you later on in the game. We got a full row of dots here. I like using soul swap on my Phantom Singularity so that I can get 2 of them, and that's going to give you a little bit more tankiness against double melee, which is typically a difficult matchup. We're going to Haymaker, knock that rogue into the wall, go for some pump fakes. We don't get the fake, but with the stun anyways and a full row of dots, we end up getting the kill over onto the rogue, and our damage is not top. Again, this is the first time I've played it this season, so we're going to be focusing on trying to maximize our damage moving forward, but I really think focusing on the kiting, focusing on these windows, trying to get your double Phantom Singularities with your soul swap, it's going to make you a lot tankier and have a lot more success. Our amp Curse of Weakness is also a really important tool when you think that you're about to get stunned. This is usually when you're going to get crit really hard and probably going to lose a game, so if you focus on activating your amp Curse of Weakness during those windows of time, it's going to be optimal. So we're going to run straight for the pillar, we're going to get our gateway, we're going to set up our nest, we're going to get our portal down, and then we're just going to wait and see what the rogue does, see what targets they crowd control. So I see a cheap shot, we get gripped and stunned. We Dark Pact as soon as you get get stunned. You want to Dark Pact at really high health so you get the full value. And we're just going to amp Curse of Weakness the Ret so they can't crit. And we're just going to port as soon as our healer is CC'd. And we're just going to chill on the side of the pillar for a second. Peek when the Death Knight's in a kidney shot. Get a full row of dots out here. Phantom Singularity. We got a Soul Rot, Soul Swap as well. And we're just going to swap that immediately over to the Ret Paladin. And with a full row of dots, we're going to be in a really strong position. We're going to go for Mortal Coil. Those pump fakes on the Drain Soul just faked the pet kick of the Death Knight. So now we can free cast a little bit easier. And the thing is, even if they don't kick, you're getting a 1 tick of Drain Soul every time and amping up the dot damage on the target. So it's just a really good ability to use to fake cast. We're just going to apply weakness here to get our triple dot effect onto the target. It's like a UA weakness and then a UA weakness or something like this on the melee attackers. We get a full fear on the priest, forcing the divine shield from the Ret Paladin. And again, my healer is not CC'd. So I have port available and they're attacking me. And then the instinct is to run right now. But unless my healer is CC'd, which now they are, they're stunned, this is a good time to port. Soul Burn port. Monk ends up trinketing. Honestly, it's solo shuffle, we're not in voice, so he probably didn't trust me to be able to kite at that moment in time, so he trinkets. But that's what you're waiting for. You're just looking at your ally's action bar here, and whenever you see them CC'd, that is the time to soul burn port away. Try and use Curse of Exhaustion if you need to. I'm using weakness here to maintain my dots, trying to go for coils. We also have a Phantom Singularity available here, so we can get a Phantom Singularity up, and we can get a soul swap on it. I'm trying to get a UA. It's kind of greedy here. I should honestly just soul swap the Phantom Singularity because it's going to give me just a lot of extra healing. We get the Soul Rot, we get a UA out. Now we can soul swap that row of dots with the Rapture whenever. I'm a bit surprised I didn't actually soul swap that right there. That should have been soul swapped over onto the Death Knight to get that double effect, double damage, double healing, a lot of self-sustainability. And I'm not really dotting the healer. This is so that my rogue can use Gouge on the healer in this type of matchup. Gouge won't remove dots. And here our healer is CC'd, so we port back behind the pillar. We got a blind and a sap onto the priest. We're pump faking our drain souls, trying to bait interrupts, but even if we don't get an interrupt, we're just restacking our dots and getting stacks anyways. So we're just going to continue to pump fake, keep our dots up with the instant cast. We go for Soul Rod here. If we get kicked, that means that we can then free cast. Also in solo shuffle, melee will often overlap their kicks, and they think Soul Rod is really dangerous, so they might get a double kick, and then you get a precog, and you can free cast later anyway. So just casting Soul Rod and not even really intending to fake it can be a really good idea. We get a smoke bomb here. I fear the priest on his way in. We force life swap. We rop them away and do a kidney shot. We've got really good pressure, and we were able to dump down the Ret here in round number 2 as a result. So for me, the main basics are to just soul burn port when healer CC'd, apply our instant dots with Curse of Exhaustion on melee, Curse of Tongues on casters, Curse of Weakness on melee, Curse of Exhaustion if you don't have a snare. Some classes don't have a good snare, but rogues just had their snare buff, so you don't really need to worry about it too much in this type of matchup. But here we've got a Ret, so using exhaustion can be a good idea. Rets don't have the best slows to be able to kite on the pillar effectively. Try and get your Phantom Singularity soul swapped onto another target if it's double melee, because that way you get the double tap, and you can get a Soul Rot, Soul Burn, Drain Life, and this will give you a huge heal and a huge shield in moments that are really difficult. So here we're just getting Curse of Weakness up. We're anticipating getting stunned. Rogue's already going really crazy. We're going to just gate away right away. Priest is into crowd control. We're going to soul burn port. So as soon as I see this little crowd control effect on the priest bar, I'm out of there. I'm not playing around. We Dark Pact right away at 100% health, and we're just lining. We don't care about doing damage during this time. It's just about surviving, avoiding their cooldowns, and making them angry. You just want to make the melee DPS as mad as possible because they're probably going to make you mad as possible with all the kicks and stuns that they have. So you got to use your soul burn port to make them equally as angry if you're going to be able to get ahead in these types of matchups. Now my goal in this matchup is to try and get a spell lock on the Mistweaver. It's going to be one of our main forms of crowd control when I'm getting attacked, because landing fear is going to be difficult. I'm going to Haymaker the Rogue on the Smoke Bomb. I really love that ability. I've been considering going Void Elf, but every time I get a Haymaker like that during one of their goes and they don't expect it, it's actually just really hilarious. We got a Soul Rod up here. We got Phantom Singularity coming up soon, so we're going to be able to get a Soul Swap on that, hopefully. Actually, Soul Swapping before Phantom Singularity here is a mistake on my part. You definitely want to be getting double of it. Our healer is in a sap and we're on top of our port, so this is a bit of a dangerous situation. I go for a Soul Burn Drain Life because the rogue just duels me without a stun by himself, so I'm just trying to tank him. We're going to have to Soul Burn port in line of our port. This is not where you want to be. You always want to be moving into the middle of the map out of line. It's making it very dangerous in this position with how stacked up we are with our healer, and that we're not going to immediately be able to avoid their attacks. So we're going to Dark Pact at high health here whenever you get an opportunity getting attacked like this. We're going to go for try and pump fake some UAs here. We go for Soul Rot, free cast it, doesn't fall for the kick. We get Kidney Shot here, and we don't have ports, so Trinketing is not going to do a lot. Our healer isn't CC'd, but their cooldowns are pretty limited, so I am thinking about walling or soul burn health stoning in this position. We finally get a fake on the kick. We're just going to soul burn port. And we're repositioning now onto the opposite side of the pillar. This is where you want to be at all times. When your port is just about to come off CD, here comes the soul swap with the Phantom Singularity. We're going to get those onto 2 targets, and this is going to make us pretty durable. We're trying to fake kicks with Drain Soul, trying to go for a Shadow Fury. We get triple cheap shot on it here on our wall, which has been unfortunate, but I dropped the unending resolve because he had Shadow Blades up, and I was a bit worried about dying, and I wanted to free cast a double stun here with the Singularity up. We go for a Soul Rot. We get the double Drain Life, double Drain Soul, getting those stacks up. Kind of trying to look for an interrupt here. I think I landed one onto the Mistweaver. Should try and look for a Fear as well. We get a Fear, we isolate the Rogue, we force Cloak of Shadows. Now the Death Knight has cooldowns up. Our Priest isn't CC'd, but their cooldowns are looking kind of limited, so I'm kind of watching closely if I need to port here, even if they're not CC'd. Smoke Bomb comes down, we're porting. We're not messing around. There's the Kidney Shot, and look at this, just lined left, right, left, right, left, right. Just avoid the melee attackers. It's a game of keep away, pretend they're a raid boss, and if they touch you, you're going to die, basically, against melee DPS, and you're going to be in a decent spot as Affliction. I got a Phantom Singularity up here. I'm trying to go for a Soul Rot. If they kick it, it's not a big deal. I can just Drain Soul. It ends up revivaling it, so we're going to gate away from that. We're still in line of sight of our Priest Angel form. You never want to be line of sighting your Priest when they go into one of these stationary effects, but now they're in a Blinding Sleet, and I don't have port for 3 seconds, so it's a bit stressful. I'm trying to just pump fake kicks with Drain Soul, trying to go for a Soul Burn port while they're strangulated, and trying to find a Fear here on the Mistweaver around the corner, and I'm not going in their line. Even though, you know, I've got a Fear on the healer, and it might be like, hey, I can get offensive here. It's not worth it. Rogue comes in for a Shadowy Duel. Priest is dropping AoE heals. We can go for a coil out of this, and it should be allow us to recover. Shadow Fury on the Rogue, and Death Knight ends up going down. So my main focus is to make this as easy on the healer as possible. Stay in their line of sight when they're not crowd controlled and they're able to output the most amount of healing. Only port when they are CC'd. Apply our instant dots through the new Jinx mechanic. Soul swap those Phantom Singularities. Try and go for coils on enemy attacks. You're kind of like a defenseman player. They send their attack, you try and coil, you try and Shadow Fury, you try and Fear, you try and disrupt their attacks and make it really difficult for them. And if you have that type of playstyle, I guarantee you're going to have success and a lot of fun on this specialization. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. If you did, make sure to thumbs up the video, subscribe, and comment down below. Help me out with the algorithm, and I will see you in the next one.